Water. Earth. Fire. Air.
Right now, the 4 beetle nations have come together to fuck monsters up! We can now put elemental blights on them, baby! Oh yes, my fellow hunters! Welcome to a brand new mechanic in Rise, something never before seen in Monster Hunter, and something that feels like sweet, sweet revenge for years and years and years of being blighted with painful elements! And talking of elements, yes, I know in the intro they weren't exactly accurately lined up, but it was the best I could do with beetles. We can apply Thunder Blight, Water Blight, Ice Blight, and Fire Blight to monsters. Presumably Dragon Blight too, but we don't have access to it to test. But those first 4 are a definite, and this is beautifully exciting because it is really powerful, it is really fun to do, and it is really satisfying. Now, you can achieve this via 2 main methods. Firstly, through the Wyvern riding system. If you grab a water monster, like, I don't know, Mizutsune.
Oh, I'm a water monster that's been grabbed!
And make it do its water attack against an enemy monster, well, then you will apply Water Blight to it. So this is a nice way to go about it, but it's a little bit unreliable because it needs you to wrangle a monster, it needs the right Blight element monster to be around to do so in the first place, and it's more of a bonus than anything. There is a much more reliable way. The beetles! The mud beetle, the thunder beetle, the snow beetle, and the fire beetle. This is part of the big push in Rise to use endemic life to your advantage. Essentially, we as hunters run around the map, grab this living creature, stuff it in a cage with 4 other living creatures, get to the monster, put our hand in, rip it out, this fearful, terrified small animal, then hurl it as hard as we can at this terrifyingly larger, more deadly animal, and use the 2 to kill each other. It really is kind of brutal when you think about it, but in any case, tossing beetles is good for you, because it is not the same as it does to us hunters. So, for example, Water Blight, as you have seen from the little pop-up, softens the monster's hide. This is kind of like tenderizing, but all over for the duration of the blight. You lob the water beetle and his mud ball that he's been collecting at the unsuspecting test dummy Azeroth, and now it takes a little bit more damage. It's nothing too crazy, but it's a nice little boon. Now, the beetles and generally endemic life respawn every like 3 to 5 minutes or so it's not that you can spam these, so they're nice little powerful boons that you can use a couple times a hunt if you go out your way to find them. So Water Blight probably arguably the most boring, but still it's great. It's a shame it's kind of not stamina related like it is on us, maybe exhaust the monster, but more damage is always good. Next up then, let's move on to fire blighting a monster with the fire beetle. And this does, well, exactly what you might imagine it does. The same thing it does to us. You take, again, this poor unsuspecting Azeroth, lob the beetle, and it will set it on fire. And this will result in rapid ticking damage. It's more potent than poison, but doesn't last as long, and it's just a little bit of a boost. Not quite as significant as the other beetles on this list, but it is definitely still nice to do, and of course it makes a very sad Azeroth run away into a cave in pain. Then we move on to the Ice Blight Beetle, and this one is very exciting. So applying it again to our poor Azeroth, it slows the monster down. It makes them move slower, it makes them have animations slow down, their attacks come out slower, it makes them slower, and that is fantastic. If you're in a dangerous situation, the hunt's not going well, you and your team need a moment to recover, whip out your beetle, throw it as balls at the enemy, and you suddenly have a little bit of a breather while it struggles to get to you through the ice. This is a really, really nice and an awesome endemic life defensive option. I absolutely love it. And then we have ourselves the Thunder Blight from the Thunder Beetle. And this one's interesting because this beetle gets its thunder by rolling up the fur of electrical monsters, so it's just this ball of, like, crackling static softness. And, well, it's yellow, so I feel like there's a very angry, very bald Zinogre out there.
Which beetle did this?
This one, then, when you throw it at the monster, thank you, Azeroth, you really have been a champion, does something very, very special. It makes it so that not just blunt attacks stun the monster, so you can use sharp bladed weapons and get a stun off, which is obviously very, very powerful. If you have a downed monster, you throw this at it, and then the 4-man hunting team piles on, you'll chain that down into a stun, as the stun builds up very quickly, as you can see, and honestly lasts a really respectable amount of time. So that's the 4 blights that we can use, and basically, how awesome is that? We can, after all this time, apply the elemental blights to the monsters and get really cool effects. Oh, Ryze is wonderful. What a lovely little addition. And I know what you might be wondering. Number 1, what about dragon blighting a monster? Well, there's no dragon beetle, at least not on this map, so we can only best guess. I would assume it forces it to use only physical attacks for the duration, and while that's not the most interesting, it is very powerful, like Super Elder Seal. And then 2, does this mean our elemental weapon attacks will build up blights on monsters? And I thought that too, but I sadly can report that it's not the case, or at least if it is the case, it requires one monumental effort. You see, there's Mizutsune, who immediately gets blighted in one shot by any of the beetles, as the monsters do, tanked 60 flame bullets, 60 water bullets, and then a load of thunder bullets, and then died. And I can confirm that throughout all of that lovely process, and honestly, Blight Bogun feels really quite good, he did not get blighted by any of them. So, yeah, this isn't something we're going to be implying regularly with weapons. It is a Wyvern riding / endemic life only, and to be fair, that makes sense. These effects are very powerful, and if we could chain apply them with elemental weapons, well, they'd be honestly a little bit too strong and kind of abusable. So there you have it, guys. We can blight monsters, and it's fantastic, and I cannot wait to see how it is used across the maps, across the monsters, and what strategies people come up with them, because you can really have some special moments here. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know your favorite of the blights, and, well, until next time, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more. Please consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. It really does help immeasurably. And, yeah, happy goddamn hunting. A goodbye.
Rage Gaming with the video float.
But that's all that's really relevant at the mo, but I'm still gonna leave this up so you patrons know that I love you even though the outro's no longer that kinda relevant. But the new one's being worked on and it's gonna be a truly badass song, and don't worry, I won't be doing any rapping on it. I'm gonna go now. This was shit.